It always comes to this. Hello there guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the red and white highlights on the line work on my face. So back in December, mid-December, I did the red on black on my sideburns and chin again. So all this in here, but we didn't hit the white or red line work here. We did do a little bit more red in the chin, so that was, I think, I went back and that's the 10th time I've worked on my chin overall, for anyone interested in keeping track. And again, all of this was, I think, probably the third time for the white. It's the third time for the white parts, but overall that has been worked on 4 times because there was a session of, 2 sessions of black on black too, I believe, and now 2 sessions of red on black. So, and all of this is of course covering up a dagger and a rose that were done twice in their own right, touched up fully a few years after I had them just to keep them crisp. Face tattoos get a lot of sun and a lot of, they're exposed to the elements a lot, so they take a little bit more extra wear and tear. So all in total, these areas have been tattooed who knows how many times, many times. And so they're still taking perfect. Something I wanted to touch on was with my head, for example, we passed that, I think 3 times red all within 4 months. But if we had have waited a year after the second pass, the result of the third pass would have been stronger. Much like everything in here, where this white was settled for about a year and 2 months, I think. 2 or 3 months, and we came in with that third pass of white, and fresh, it was almost too bright. So stressing the importance of kind of patience, where, for example, if I decide to go, and we will when I'm done with the sleeve, hit this chest piece again, all of the color that we put in the chest piece, we were getting slightly diminishing returns on the second and in some places third passes of the color, because it had been done so recently and the black underneath of it was very, very dark when we were covering it, because we only let it settle for 3 months or something. We would have had better results, and this is still much on the table, if we were able to wait a little longer in between passing it, because the colors seem to blend fully somewhere around a year. And that's not even to say that they change much, it's just the ink sort of settles in, and even though there hasn't been any real change in this guy, you can go back and look for yourself since the last time we hit it. Now it's been, I think, 7 months since we've done anything with it, so quite a while. Whenever we get to this again, it's going to be very, very reactive to whatever we do. So say we do a pass of green and a pass of yellow, pass of orange, the pass of pink on the brain there. All of that is going to be working from a base of, it's already mixed in with the black, it's already darkened to whatever point it was going to, and now it's more like the color it is rather than the color it is mingling with the black. There's no more of that happening really. I believe what happens is you get a certain amount of color into the equation. The first pass, the body can only absorb so much color through the holes you put into it. And then that does whatever it can with the black, and it's usually not really clear, but it's there. And then the second pass, because there's already color in there and you're introducing more color, the body can take again that same amount of color, for example, and it gets the black less black and more the color you're putting in there, or whatever other color you're putting in there. And then from there, if you get that third pass, it seems to be basically the same color as it would have been with no black at all, or at least a very close variation of. That's why you see with these third passes of white that I've done, and a better example will be the roses on my neck here that are still very, very high contrast in the high points, and obviously on my arm as well. That is like paper towel white. That being the third pass highlight, there's almost no black ink left in the skin because it's all been brightened. So I think that the same amount of ink is always in you. It's like, say you have a big pail of black and you keep dumping colors into it. Eventually there's more color in there than there is black. And that same thing happens with our body because the ink never dries. There have been some more preposterous ideas pushed by tattooers over the years, but I think the process that I've been showing has proven that most of what we thought about how ink goes into skin and metabolizes and breaks down and all of that is all wrong. We've gotten it all wrong. It's not magic, it's just that the science that we have had has been wrong. And you can say that with ease because what I've been achieving wouldn't be possible if it were right. So I keep getting these comments now from people who are like, you need to donate your body to science when you're done with it. When you die, give it to scientists, not an art museum. Because you could learn a lot from the husk of Remy one day, potentially. If we were open to it, I think people will just be happy when I'm gone, to be honest with you, because I think I've made people's lives a lot harder. Some tattooers are having to answer this question quite often now when approaching cover-ups of why can't you cover black? I know Remy has done it, and most of them just, for good and bad reasons. I'm not going to completely slag these guys because there's a lot of clients that aren't patient enough for this, and I've experienced it firsthand. Some people will see me do crazy shit and they'll want to do it themselves. Like, I blacked out my back in one session. I did this twice. This is not me bragging. This is just a reality. I'm going to preface this heavily before I go on this rant, because some people will be offended or, oh yeah, you're so strong, Remy, like that kind of shit. No, it's not like that. It's just, I have been through tattoo after tattoo after tattoo for years and decades on end, usually 2 to 3 times a week. Currently, I'm 2 times a week, every week, more or less. My body has most likely gotten used to this. I don't heal hard. I heal in like 2 days. We had a guy who came to see us, no naming names ever on this channel, and he wanted to get his whole arm blacked out, but we don't do that here. We won't do that for you here, not in one session. And he said, well, you blacked out Remy's whole back. That's bigger than it. It's like, yeah, it's like the difference of like a professional fighter versus fighting someone in an alley or something. It's like, I've been through this a time or two, and even then, Terry and I knew we were being reckless. We knew we were stunting. We wanted to see if we could do it. It doesn't mean that we should be doing that every day, and it doesn't mean that we should have really done it at all. If we were, concerned about my health or the potential heal of such a thing. I didn't really show off my back first pass, not because I didn't really want people to see what it looked like. It wasn't that. It's just I wasn't done with it. And I did the second pass 4 weeks later. But it's pretty scratchy. I bled a lot. I was fucking crazy swollen, and I was itchy as fuck for a couple weeks. And I don't normally get itchy. So, if I'm itchy, someone else would have been really itchy. And that's to say that I'm extremely used to this lifestyle, and I heal tattoos without even thinking about it. So for me, doing stuff like that isn't the same as most people. That should be intuitive, but that upsets some people to hear because they're like, well, I'm tough. I'm as tough as him. He's probably a bitch. It's like, well, whether I am or I am not a bitch, at some point I've acclimatized to this lifestyle, and that's why I can afford to do things a little more recklessly. Now, with that all said, we don't offer one-shot blackouts here. We don't do it. We won't do it. I don't care how tough you think you are. We're not as tough physically as we are mentally. Our bodies will break down. This has been a hard pill for me to swallow because I have brass balls of steel when it comes to my willpower. I feel the pain. I feel the pain viscerally. But if I decide I'm doing something, that's it. This is what we're doing today. Doesn't matter how it feels. It was the same way when I was stretching things like my helix piercing. It still gets quite a bit of love from folks when they notice it, the size of it. That doesn't happen through one shot, you know. You don't do that in one day. You can get your ear scalpeled out. I don't really recommend it, but you wouldn't scalp it at that size anyway, so you'd end up stretching it anyway to some degree. I mean, there is that Daiko Kaito Nero guy. I think that's how you say his name. I did a reaction video to him. His ears were scalpeled out, but that is incredibly rare, and I don't want to know what the healing period was like for that. This is an effort of patience, right? This is discipline, and this is time put in. I treat this shit like work, you know, but also like it's sacred. It's ritual. It's work. It's a lifestyle, and you don't get any of this otherwise. You don't get this far with it otherwise. These people are like, could you have done it without numbing cream? You don't look like me if you need numbing cream to get tattooed. You just won't. Because like this aesthetic, you could call it love of the game of getting tattooed. You know, this aesthetic equals a guy who doesn't mind being in pain every now and then. It's just the way it is. I wouldn't recommend this type of tattooing to anyone who dislikes pain to the point where they're using numbing cream. It's not an easy sell. There are better, quicker ways to get covered, and I would definitely not recommend going through the route that I have for that if you don't like pain. With that all said, obviously I had another session with Rick, and it was actually a decent session. It's just crazy because we just did around 4.5 hours last week, so I was kind of thinking that Rick was going to do a shorter session this week, and I would have even been okay with that because, you know, I think we're making decent pace now, and we're getting close to halfway, I would say, with this sleeve in terms of coverage at the very least. So we got all this done in here. Now, some of this was done already. For people who've been watching all of these, you'll know that this chunk in here has been passed once already. This in here wasn't, but it was taken really, really well. The second pass took always very well. That's always the case. I'm never worried about that. But even though we had to move slow because this part of my arm is dog shit, it is one of the worst spots on my whole body for scar tissue. And when you're covering scar tissue, and there are people out there that think all of me is scar tissue, that's not the fucking case. In here is a lot of scar tissue. So when you're covering scar tissue, it doesn't even mean you can't do the work. It just means that it takes longer. It bleeds a little more, and whenever you're bleeding a little more, you're pushing out a little more of the ink, and you just have to slow everything down overall, really. That's all there is to it. It doesn't mean anything. Like, you can saturate a scar very easily, especially if you're comfortable with cover-ups. It's not even like it's much different. It's just, you know, you're working, I believe, a little bit deeper to get through the scar tissue. You might have to pack it a little denser. But, you know, it went in really, really well. And it was stiff and it was sore to the touch right after having it done. But it's already chilled out. It doesn't even feel like I've been tattooed in there. And it was just 12 hours ago that we finished on it. So this is about 3.5 hours of work in here, believe it or not. So, and that should rightfully scare some people off of this, because that is what you're looking at when you're going this detailed anyway. When we were doing these roses, like, these are way, way less complicated. If you don't like getting tattooed and you want to do black or white on black, color on black, whatever project, maybe go for something a little big and bold like what we did, because this whole sleeve has been worked on 14 times, I believe, and that's with all kinds of extras and tweaks. And I'll probably do some more extras and tweaks, but like, these roses and the thorns haven't been touched in a year or longer now, and look at them. They're fucking picture perfect. They've not changed at all. So that is on the table. 14 sessions versus 34 sessions, and we're not even, I would say we're just getting close to halfway now. Because you got to figure, we've still got this tentacle to do the first time. Most of this is first pass. Some of it is second pass. So everything will need 2 or 3 passes. whenever we get back up into this is just going to glow when we hit it again. You think it's good now. We're planning on coming back into here. Once we've got the rest of this laid out, we got like a session to go through here, maybe 2. I don't know what that looks like exactly. And then we got to do, I believe we're just going to do red velvet in here, but we may do some more tentacle work in there. It'll be a thing like what was happening with the hand, where it's like you don't want to get too much on the go because you're going to end up having to redo things anyway. So get most of what you're working on finished before you start adding to new things and stuff. I believe in 2 or 3 weeks we'll be working on the hand again. And yeah, just picking away, man. It's been fun, but there's a lot to it. I do have a session coming up with Terry this week. I was planning on doing the spider web and the other thing on my shoulder here, but I think just for time's sake, the way the scheduling works out this week, I'm probably going to end up doing the other idea I have right now, which is to add the light blue and light pink highlights in all these places. And we'll redo the highlights, the white and bright spots in the spacey eye here that same day, and we'll hit this middle again with some more color. This hasn't been done now in 2 months, so should be a decent result. But I think all that light blue and light pink is going to just go right in, and people are going to understand what I mean. I think people are probably having a hard time even seeing it right now, but it's just playing with contrast again. And by now you should really just be trusting me on that, because I've been the architect of almost all of this. People are always, oh, Remy, you're not even a tattooer. What the fuck do you know? I'm like, well, I've been the foreman of this fucking project, and nothing like it has ever happened before. So give me some fucking credit by now. And by the way, Rick and Terry, neither one of them have ever done anything like this either. So this has all been me coming up with insane ideas, and then you can trace this back 4 years of me pitching these insane ideas and people not thinking they're going to work. And then I have to pay for this, and then I have to sit for this. So that's not worth nothing. It's not worth nothing to have the vision. It's not worth nothing to sit for it. It's not worth nothing to show up for hundreds of sessions on work that nobody expected to work. No one ever was like, oh, that'll work, Remy. There was maybe out of every 10,000 people who doubted this project, there was maybe one person that said, that'll work. Now you should see the winds have changed. Now it's like, I want to do this. I'm starting this. Hell, I talked to my artist about it and he was on board for it. Fuck, that took a while. I had to get quite a bit done before that started happening, but now I'm starting to hear that. Even some of the artists that had their heads up their rear ends are starting to come around. Not all of them. It's a long war, and I've got a lot of work left to do. But that has been my journey. That's not Rick or Terry's journey. They've been contributors of it. And when either of them are gone, the project continues. This year, I'm going to have 3 separate tattooers tattoo me. And they're all rookies. All of them are apprentices. They're all doing good work. But it should illuminate the idea that anyone can do this. And that is the last thing that it's going to take the longest. Because people think that Rick and Terry are professionals at this, and they do this every fucking day, and they're having people in all the time. There's nothing like that. There's no one else in Lethbridge doing anything like this. There's the odd person who has traveled, and that has been documented here for the most part, and it's also been explained here. And the only reason why people even know of this, that these guys are doing this on me, is because I'm shouting about it every fucking week, every fucking day on some platforms. And so none of this would even happen without me doing this. So it's not to say that I'm taking credit for the technicality of this, but it does not happen without me. And now, because I've been more than happy to share this with the world, more of this is happening all over the place. I see it near and far now. So, and that I'm not even bragging. It's just nice to see some people getting around to doing something that was very clearly always possible. This isn't just become possible all of a sudden. It's just that I had the fucking patience and the curiosity to go through this to figure it out for the world, really. This arm was not done this way for me. This shit is what I like. I like the weird the roses are fine. I like the way they look. But they're an aesthetic that I put out there to make clear and salient to the world of disbelievers that you can do these projects and they will last. So this arm, once again, as I've said a lot, was like I wrote a pop song. You know, it was for the world, not me. Something big, bold, and recognizable to even an infant brain. And so then there could be no argument that this can work. And my point has been proven. It's no longer an argument, but there's still some people with their heads up their asses that are going to take a little longer to get to the table. And that's okay. That's why I'm still here shouting about this every fucking week. And that's my cross to bear, I guess, now. I didn't think it was going to be, but I kind of came into that organically. And if that's the way it has to be, that's the way it has to be. But it's not an argument about it, whether it can be done or not. It's just about whether you're going to be patient enough or not for it. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again later this week. Have a great day.